Hello guys, welcome back to tutorial race, and in this video you are learning Flutter BLoC. So guys, in previous two chapters we have discussed about what Flutter is all about and what is state management and how BLoC is responsible for maintaining BLoC this state. And in previous chapter you have known that how we can use Cubit to in state management. In this one especially we are going to focus on Flutter BLoC. So in this one you will be knowing about core concepts, events, states and BLoC widget. So how these all things works, and of course in this one I'll be showing you practical example as well, because whatever we have done, whatever I have explained, whatever I have shown you, all these things are only theoretical, but in this one we will be covering practical also, means with the code. So before we proceed ahead, let's understand here that what are different component, what are different parts of this BLoC. First one is events and states. What is an event? An event represents an action or intention from the user system, such as button press, form submission or page scroll. Means these are events. Means for example, if I'm scrolling here, that is an event. If I'm clicking here, that is an event. So for that, what you will have to do, you have to define here class, abstract class counter event. Now you might be wondering why we are using here abstract class, because you can see here class increment extends counter event. That means what? We are implementing here polymorphism, right? What we are doing, we are implementing here polymorphism because we are extending from the same class. Okay, so now here increment extends this counter event, decrement this one also we are declaring here counter event. Means that means what? We are just here declaring our event. Now we will see here state is a current status of any apps UI data. When events are triggered, the state changes and UI updates. Now abstract class counter state, here we are in state. Remember, this one is event and this one is state. Now what we are doing here, abstract class counter state, just like this we are also defining here our state. Now class counter initial, because initial value we will have to put somewhere, so that's why counter initial extends counter state. Now final int count, that means what? Initial value we are just putting here 0. Class counter value extends counter state. Once again here counter value, this was for initial, counter value extends counter state, final int count and then counter value. So that means here it will be changing. Now BLoC versus a class Cubit. In Cubit it is simplified. I've already mentioned about this. For example, class counter Cubit extends Cubit, and then directly we are writing here emit. We are not using here any event. BLoC is event driven. So what we need to do, class counter BLoC extends BLoC, counter event and then int. So here counter BLoC super 0. The difference you can see in this one, only event we are writing, this emit there is no event, but in case of BLoC we are using here event as well as emit both. So on event then emit, finally this emit will increase and this one will decrease. So that is the main difference, because it is simpler version. We don't have to write here event, and in this one you will have to write event as well. Now the BlocProvider, whatever changes has been made, event has been generated, state has been changed, now it should reflect in our UI. So for that one, BlocProvider injects your BLoC or Cubit into widget tree, so that means whatever it has been changes has been made, it will inject into our tree. Now create context counter BLoC. This counter BLoC we are injecting into our widget tree, and finally where it will be available into our home page. Now this is BlocBuilder, rebuilds a widget. This BlocBuilder is responsible for rebuilding, means changes has been made. What will happen? So step by step you might be knowing here. This one is for this one is event, and this one is state, and here this one BlocProvider is to injecting into our application, and this one is reflecting the change after rebuilding the widget. So there are four patterns here. Now BlocListener, what it will do, listens for state changes to perform side effects like showing never. For example, if you added, it will say added successfully or navigate to another page. So that one is through BlocListener. Now listens counter this state. If state is 5, then scaffold manager dot off context show snack bar. It will show reached 5 by page here. BlocConsumer combines both BlocListener and BlocBuilder and consumer. So the combination of both these are called BlocConsumer. So how it's BlocConsumer, then counter block int, then listener you can see here, and builder, both are combined in this. So combination of both these we can call BlocConsumer. So guys, these are the core concept, and in below of course I have written here example. I will show you whatever you have learned so far. So event, state and all that, this is the summary. Now let's go to here. We will be building here, and I will be showing here this example that how this works. So let's open here Visual Studio Code. I expect that you already have installed all the necessary dependencies and all that. So guys, here we will be using only, so this is my previous project, so let me close it. Rather I will go to file and close this project folder. I will open this one, new, let's create a new project. So Control Shift P and then Flutter. Okay, there is some problem here, not coming. Flutter new project, application, and then here in this one Flutter projects I will be creating here block example. Okay, just I will have to select this one, tutorial, and then block example I'll put here. Okay, so what I'll have to do, first thing we will have to go to pubsec.yml file here, and inside the dependencies here we have to include our two dependencies which we have already mentioned in our previous chapter. In our this chapter we had discussed about this. Alright, this one, inside dependencies we will have to call these two dependencies. Let's go here and then so now it's adding the dependencies. Okay, now it's done. Next one will be go to chapter number 3, not here, 3, and then our project structure is like this. So let's first create here block. Inside our leaf folder we will create one block folder, and then we have to create here first event. We will create here event.dart, this file. As you know, in block there is event, state, and then block, 3 part, and then state, this is point number 2, and then another one is counter block. These 3 we are including here. We have created main.dart is already there, so we don't have to do anything. inside our counter event we will be declaring here inside our counter event. So as I already discussed about this, we have created here abstract class counter event, and then we are doing here increment and decrement, extending this counter event class. Now inside our counter state we will be writing the code to change state. So in our counter state, what we have done here, abstract class counter state means we have declared here counter state, and we have defined here properties and method as well inside this. So property, there is count, and this one is here value, counter state actually. So now counter initial, extend counter state, initial value we are just putting 0, and then here this one will be for changing our counter value. So far you might have seen that we are writing business logic in different files, not in our same UI widget. Next we have to write there this block. This block will call both. So in this one we need to call here this event as well as state. What we are doing here in counter block, we are calling, means implementing this both counter event as well as counter state. So now you might be wondering, what is this? This is actually type. In Flutter, generally we write like this, T. That means what? This is type. So what is its type? Return type is to be counter event and counter state. Now here counter block, inside counter block, super counter initial, we are calling their super, and now on event means event is generated here. On event there will be two parameters here, event and emit, means user will trigger event and then that new state will be emitted. Final counter means this one, state.count, initial value, new count, and emit, here every time the state will change. Similarly here also state will change, and what will happen? It will become minus. I know that it becomes it may appear initially a bit complicated, but don't worry, when you will be using this in real-time application, which I will show you with different examples, 4 examples, then you will understand this better. For the time being, I think it's enough to understand that how this works. Now let's go ahead, and in main.dart we will be implementing all these things. So just copy and paste. I will explain part to part so that you can understand it better. Okay, now all right, so how this works actually, now you can see all these 3 parts we are calling here, block, event and state, all these 3. Now you will see here one very important thing, we are using here BlocBuilder, sorry, BlocProvider. So what is the function of BlocProvider? This BlocProvider tells that these 3 things will be available in our this page, means this screen, and where is it? So all the hierarchy widget value can get this one, create. So this one is means injecting into this counter block, we are injecting into our child widget. Now this counter page here, you will see this one, BlocConsumer. We have already mentioned about this, that what is BlocConsumer. If you go in the top, this BlocConsumer, why this one is used? In BlocConsumer, BlocBuilder and BlocListener both are implemented. Now if you go to here, BlocBuilder, what it builds a widget, means BlocBuilder rebuild the widget as per the changes, and BlocListener show the message. So that is in short. Now if you go here, so BlocConsumer, what is doing? Block counter and counter state, both it is implementing, and here you can see BlocListener means whatever message you want to display here, you can display through block this listener. And BlocBuilder, what is this? This BlocBuilder is actually, it will update the value here. So in text it will 1 2 3 4, it will update. After updating it will display here, that means what? First builds, it is rebuilt, and then message display, and here is simple. You can see floating, we are calling here on pressed counter block dot add. So remember, whenever you send any data, if you send any data, in that case we will be writing here add counter block dot add, means we are sending the data to decrement, and here we are sending the data to increment. So guys, this is a very simple example, but you might be knowing that how this works. Now let's run this project. So here was some problem, we had to make some changes. Abstract class counter state, and then counter state this one, and counter initial extends counter state, counter initial super 0 value, and counter value extends counter state, then counter value int count, and then super count. And in our block we had to make some changes in the code. On increment event emit, what it will emit? It will emit a new state. On decrement it will emit a new state. Rest of the things are fine. Now after refreshing, you can see if I change here, then the changes are reflecting. So guys, you might be wondering that okay, this plus and minus can be done without this going all this hassle, but this is very simple example, and you can see the business logic we are writing differently in separate page, and we are writing this UI in a separate page. So that is the idea, and in further chapters, in further examples, you will understand that why actually this one is for bigger one, means larger project, not the smaller one. Okay, but this one is very simple example. So step by step you will be learning that how you can implement this in larger projects. So guys, this is the end of this chapter. Hope you understand. So thanks for watching. Let's meet in the next chapter.